There's tons of great horror games out there, and there's also thousands of lists dedicated to telling you about them. So I thought for Halloween I'd try something different by making a list dedicated to non-horror games that are scary. And we've all had them, so if I miss yours out, please let me know what they are down below. Some of these are slightly embarrassing, but hopefully my reasons will justify why I think they're scary. And it is weird that some of these games have scared me more than some real attempts at horror in the past. But let's get on with it.
Number 5.
I thought I'd get the obvious one out of the way first, but at night in the wilderness, Minecraft can be terrifying. All the enemies seem to make horrific sounds. When you can't see in front of you and then in the distance you see the glowing eyes of an enderman or a spider. The game just feels ominous as well when you play alone. Not to mention the constant tension. You'll be minding your own business and then out of nowhere...
Surprise, motherfucker!
Number 4. Chicken Run was actually quite a competent stealth game back in the day. Very similar to Metal Gear Solid, but for children. Obviously you couldn't sneak up behind other chickens and break their necks or whip out a SOCOM, but it was a child-friendly game until fuck off. It might seem juvenile because the game looks like arse now, but it was weirdly atmospheric. The moody dark lighting, the dogs sniffing around, waiting to tear your tiny chicken throat out, and the music was really fitting for the situations. When I heard the dogs barking or Mr. or Mrs. Tweedy coming for me, I could have launched off the floor in a rocket-like blast of piss.
Number 3.
Sephiroth is considered one of the greatest Final Fantasy characters ever. He isn't really to me, but one thing that him and his mum did was scare the piss out of me. The parts in the game where you arrive just after one of Sephiroth's rampages, specifically Shinra's HQ, and saw blood all up the walls and floors, not to mention the creepy as fuck music in these sections. But of all the things that scared me was this part where you see Genova for the first time. Just look at this. Okay, it might look laughable now, but as a young'un I just wanted to no-scope the bitch and run away. But then later in the game, a massive teddy with a cat on his head joins your party, so all subtlety goes out the window.
Number 2.
Whilst Max Payne was a damn good shooter at the time and earned praise for introducing bullet time, it had a fucking dark story with some outright scary and atmospheric moments. The dream sequences are what come up the most, and whilst they were scary, especially the one with the baby crying and following the blood, I thought the very first stage of this game was terrifying. The moment you entered the house, you knew something was wrong. The lack of music and the subtle sound effects reinforced this. Then Max's home phone rang.
Listen, someone's broken into my house. Call 911.
Is this the Payne residence?
Yes, someone's broken into my house. They're still here. You have to...
Good. I'm afraid I cannot help you.
Don't know what it is, but that fucked me up. And it was the first game and probably the only one where a baby dies, and brutally as well. It's dark, depressing, horrifying, and a smashing game all round.
Number 1.
Going into Gone Home, I knew nothing about it, and it's the reason to this day why I don't watch or read previews and other pre-release material. The game is just you exploring a very atmospheric house, piecing together what has happened to your sister. I don't know what was going through my mind, but I thought the sister had been kidnapped and brutally murdered and raped or something, and I thought the perpetrator was in the house with me. Those of you who have finished the game will probably be laughing your tits off at me now, because the real story of the game is really touching and human. It's not a horror game at all. It just shows you what happens when the fear of the unknown takes over. For most of these games, it's like they handed me a set of jump leads and attached them to my brain.